We are here beside the rubber tree with the Right Reverend Darren McCartney and with the Reverend Joey Royal from the Anglican Diocese of the Arctic. Welcome. Would each of you mind just starting and telling us a little bit about your ministry up north and what you're doing and perhaps why you're here? So, Darren, would you start?
I'm the suffragan bishop in the Diocese of the Arctic. The Diocese of the Arctic is 1.5 million square miles, and it covers 3 territories: Nunavut, Northwest Territories, and Nunavik, also known as Arctic Quebec. As a bishop, you travel around the communities and relate what is going on in those communities, given some connection. That's kind of what the role of a bishop is, bringing the local church, or the larger church to the local church, and the local church to the larger church, and what's going on. I travel a lot in my job around the Arctic and outside of the Arctic, and it's a little bit more difficult these last few months because I got a little baby boy called Liam, married to Karen. Karen and Liam are in Iqaluit on Baffin Island. Iqaluit is the capital of Nunavut.
Great. So we're in Pittsburgh. How far, do you have any idea how far north Iqaluit is from here? This is just a test question.
By plane from Ottawa, that'll maybe give you some reference.
Yeah.
From Ottawa to Iqaluit, it's 3 hours by plane. So I don't know how long it would take you to get from Ottawa to here by plane.
How long would it take you to walk? I'm just joking.
All right. It would take a long time. Joey.
I'm Joey. I'm a priest in the Diocese of the Arctic. My current job is I'm the director of Arthur Turner Training School, based in Iqaluit. We live in the same place. And Arthur Turner Training School has a partnership with Trinity. So we are a theological college in the Diocese of the Arctic. We train local people to do local ministry in the north. Before I moved to Iqaluit, I was a parish priest in Yellowknife, which is the other major center in the western part of the diocese.
So we started out by talking about the fact that we were beside the rubber tree. This tree used to be in my office, but I figured that this was probably confusing on a number of different levels. One, because you don't have rubber trees. 2, because it's a tree.
Well, that's true. We don't have trees.
You don't have trees.
Our part of
The tree line kind of cuts up. So in the western Arctic, if you go right up to the Beaufort Sea, you have trees. Where we are, we don't. We're in the tundra.
Yeah.
So sorry to confuse you. Sorry
That's
to
fine.
So it's nice to see some greenery,
Yeah, it's a little different.
some shrubbery,
Yeah, so there you go. I was just trying
and
to...
it's real.
It is real, actually. It's a real thing. It looks like it kind of needs a little work, though.
So somebody's watered it recently too.
I guess they're taking care of it. Thank you all for taking care
It's
of it.
important to look after your plants.
Yeah, it looks like it needs it's a little uneven.
A little bit of trim.
A little bit of trimming. So the partnership with the Diocese of the Arctic and Trinity, in particular ATTS, started a couple of years ago. But it's been going on a lot longer than that. Like, we've had some work together for a couple of decades. Joey, can you talk a little bit about what you know about that?
Well, Arthur Turner Training School opened in 1970 in a little community called Pangertung, which is in the sort of southeastern portion of Baffin Island. So it opened from 1970 and it ran till about 2007, at which point the buildings we were using were just, the weather had taken a toll on them and they were no longer usable for that purpose. But I understand that the relationship back in the old version of ATTS was such that Trinity faculty would come up and teach. I know Les Fairfield was up teaching. There may have been others, but it goes back to the early days.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well, that long before the recent partnership started, Trinity and ATTS were working together, and we just recently kind of tracked that down. I mean, I guess people before our time.
But I think it's a natural fit. We resonate strongly with the theological vision of Trinity. We appreciate the global focus, and so obviously that's been going on a while.
Yeah. So, we first started talking about officially entering into a partnership in around 2014, and that's really been a really positive thing for Trinity. Can you talk a little bit about how that's been beneficial for ATTS?
There's lots of reasons. One is it has allowed us to use Trinity materials to have a sort of framework for this program. We offer a 2-year diploma, it's called a Diploma in Arctic Ministry, but the core curriculum there is Trinity materials, so that's huge. Gives us some accountability, right, outside of our own diocese, some oversight, these relational context in which to do this. It allows us actually a connection with the Anglican communion beyond our own national borders, beyond the territories, beyond our diocese. Wonderful to connect with Anglicans from another country. And it also has allowed our students to tap into government funding. Now, we as an institution, as a diocese, don't get government funding. However, our students who come to study with us are able to get the same funding that other students in Nunavut get. So that has allowed students to live, to travel, to get housing when they study with us. So a blessing from start to finish.
Absolutely. It's also been a real blessing for us. So Trinity's been doing partnerships, since its founding, but there have been times that we've been heavily involved in doing partnerships in starting extension sites, and then those have kind of been scaled back, and then we've started again, and they've been scaled back. And so this last round of kind of partnerships initiatives, really kind of got ramped up, and actually got ramped up again with this partnership with the Diocese of the Arctic. And so I think it really helped us begin to lean into the idea of living into our recent vision that was always the vision to be a global center for Christian formation. And it really helped us begin to understand and live into the idea that part of what we're supposed to be doing is reaching out and encouraging and providing resources for these institutions around the world like ATTS that need support and that share a common vision. And so it's really been a real blessing to be able to share that together. Bishop Darren, can you tell us a little bit about just ministry in the Diocese of the Arctic and what's happening there now?
The ministry in the north has been done by the people in the north for quite a while. Because of the nature of where we are, and historically, it's been about the minister equipping the people to do the work, So the idea of the minister resourcing lay leaders, we rely heavily on lay leaders. There's something like 51 communities in the Diocese of the Arctic. We have like 19 clergy in the Diocese of the Arctic. Not all of those are on stipend. That some of them might be retired, the ones that I just quoted. So, as you can imagine, the lay readers are doing the bulk of the ministry, pastoral ministry, within their own communities, and that's difficult. So you have lay readers, family ministering to family in some of the most pastorally challenging situations, like suicide is a big thing in the north. We do have issues around alcohol and drug abuse. The rate of cancer is on the up and up. For people in the north to go to a hospital, they fly out to Iqaluit. Now, Iqaluit is the capital of Nunavut. It can't give you cancer treatment, so then you have to fly to Ottawa, which is in the south. So it's challenging, it's difficult, but there is a vibrancy within the life of the church. Church is in the community. The chances are, if somebody takes sick, if somebody dies, it's the Anglican Church that will come alongside, trying to support the families, trying to support the people involved. So we stand, you've heard that story on the Shoulder of Giants. There is a legacy, a good legacy, within the communities of pastors visiting, of lay readers. The church is real. It's something that people are very familiar with. They're very familiar with the Lord's Prayer. Like most people could probably still say the Lord's Prayer. They know the scriptures. The Bible was the reference text, the written text for, the that people had for many, many years. We're only getting other books now that are being translated into Inuktitut, certainly in our part of the Arctic. My wife works for the Department of Justice, and the head of justice would often reference the Old Testament references to the law to try and find words for the contemporary for their area. So, yeah, still people have Bibles on their shelves and in these departments, So it's pretty neat.
For our alumni and friends who are watching this, could you tell us a little bit about potential ministry opportunities if they were interested?
Well, just for an example, in that part of Arctic Quebec called Nunavik, 14 communities, there are 3 currently stipend clergy. That leaves you another 11 communities. Now, we might group some of those. I mean, in Nunavik, the distance are shorter, so you could go by Skidoo to the next community. So if we had strategic, if we were to place clergy, that's what we're looking at, placing clergy in strategic places to equip the lay readers that are there, and to really encourage the people that are there. There are lots of opportunities.
Absolutely. And Joey, how about your vest?
Well, in the we've been talking a lot about the Eastern Arctic, which is where Iqaluit is. Eastern Arctic is mostly Inuit people who speak the language Inuktitut. But in the Western Arctic, there are other Inuit groups, but there are also First Nations groups. And this was made by a lady who is a Gwich'in lady, member of the First Nations community there in the northwestern Arctic.
What would First Nations be in an American context?
American Indian, yeah. Yeah, in Canada we would say First Nations, and the group is called the Gwich'in. They're in the northwestern Arctic. They go into Yukon, I believe in Alaska as well. They're
Absolutely.
Gwich'in. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a real art that the First Nations people have done up there. It's beadwork, and it's just very, very, very intricate work that requires extremely careful, fine motor skills. I've watched elders as old as 100 sitting there, hunched over and doing the painstaking work of feeding the needle through these little tiny things. It just takes a long, long time. Beautiful. This was actually made by a lady named Georgina Baldwin, who was the only non-Inuit person to graduate from ATTS.
Oh, wonderful.
In the old.
And that was at the old.
That was the old
campus.
ATTS. That was in Pangertung. Yep.
And we moved it from Pangertung. I know, Joe, you referenced the fact that the buildings weren't up to what we needed. But another reason for moving from Pangertung is a community of 1,600 people. It's a small community, fly in, fly out. We moved it to the capital of Nunavut, where there's a population of 8,000 people. There is more opportunity for us to expose them to different forms and types of ministry in their formation at the college. We'd also did a capital campaign, and the cathedral burnt down, so we spent a lot of time raising capital for the new cathedral. We got the cathedral paid off. It's a beautiful building, but how do we best utilize, how are we best stewards of what we have? For me anyway, it wasn't difficult to think. We've got the prisons in Iqaluit, we've got the hospitals in Iqaluit, we've got the boarding homes in Iqaluit, we've got the elders' homes in Iqaluit. These are places that we can send out our students to give them exposure to ministry in those environments. Being a good steward, utilizing the cathedral more. The whole idea of a cathedral being the mother church, trying to form and reach out and to, as a model for other churches throughout the diocese. For us, it made sense. It's a hub. Flights come in and out. It's the main airport. Lots of people coming and going. The whole idea also of ATTS is to not just equip the students who come in. And I've always said this, that if we have lay readers or if we have people from other communities who are committed Christians who want to be able to come and sit in on the classes, they can come in and sit down and avail, because it is a hub. People are flying through all the time. There is a hospital there. People are coming to the hospital with their family, supporting their family. They can come down and sit in the classes and take that opportunity, and hopefully go back with something, be encouraged in their faith, to go back, and share what they've learned. That would be an important thing for me anyway.
And I don't know if people are aware of St. Jude's Cathedral, which has just recently been paid off and consecrated. It's shaped like an igloo, which is a traditional Inuit ice house. Beautiful building, and our, as the bishop was saying, our classroom is in the top level of the cathedral, and morning and evening prayers are said by the students, led by the students every day there. Yeah.
So how many classes have you had come through since you restarted?
One cohort. So we have 5 finishing, and a 2-year program, 2-year diploma program. That's straight. They also, in the summer, they had a practicum where they ran a parish. The students ran a small Inuktitut-speaking parish in a nearby community. And we're accepting applications for another cohort now, starting in the fall.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. Where do you see the future of the school going, and how do you see the relationship with Trinity continue to grow in the future?
Well, I'd first say the relationship with Trinity is so incredibly important to us, for the reasons I said earlier, but I can say them again. For accountability, for a connection to the larger Anglican world, the communion, to allow our students to access funding, and to provide materials. Also, I think Trinity provides a model for how to train people for a global Anglican context, even beyond the Anglican world too. I appreciate the global focus of Trinity. So we see our visions as aligned, and hope that our relationship is as beneficial for you as it is for us. It's been a huge, huge blessing. So I hope to continue that. Yeah, strengthen what we have.
And speaking just on the back of that, Joey, I think we want to get our message out, obviously, and how do we do that? For me, anyway, we would encourage maybe faculty from here or students from here to come up, to get an experience of what it is to work in a cross-cultural context. And then perhaps if we can give them that experience now, and whenever they're being formed, whenever they're being shaped, whenever they're training towards ministry, that perhaps in the future, whenever they're ordained, maybe whenever they're looking after churches, whenever they're maybe in key leaderships 10 years from now or more, they'll remember the Arctic. I mean, people know that there are Christians in Africa. People know that there are Christians in other parts of the world, but when it comes to the Arctic, it's not so well known. And for us to, we are here. Your brothers and sisters are here. Please continue to pray for us. Please continue to support us. I'd also say that there's for me, Joey, looking at Trinity, there is a particular kind of a culture here that I can relate to from my own experiences. There is. We were at morning prayer this morning. It was very comfortable in that the ministry that you would see or the churches that you would find in the north, what we saw this morning in morning prayer would be similar in the north. There is a similar maybe churchmanship or culture. Whenever I was tasked with getting ATTS up and running, I spoke to many colleges. There are at least 7 Anglican colleges in Canada. Talked to them. But I was most impressed whenever I met you in Albany, the Diocese of Albany. You're talking about the Anglican Communion, the connections through to the wider Anglican Communion. If you look at the college here, there are many people from all over the world, I think, as well. But I met you. You shared something about the college, Grant Lamar. I met him at Albany. And then exploring this a little bit further, what would a partnership maybe look like? Whenever I contacted the college, your dean of he prayed for me on the phone. That meant a lot to me personally. You know, that was for me very emotional, because you're up against resistance. You're trying to get people interested in the work that we're trying to do, and you feel that you were coming up against a wall. And here you had somebody talking, when I was talking to him on the phone, can I pray for you? That hadn't happened to me before. And given my context, given the isolation, given what I was trying to do, that was a pretty key thing in my mind. You know, who do you want to... And I think partnerships are very important, and who we partnership with, because there's not just the physical dynamics or what it might look like to the rest of the world, but I believe that there is a spiritual dynamic to the partnerships that we have, and that's crucial. Who do we partner with? Spiritually, we can be blessed, or we might not have the blessing. I think that for me, I'm conscious that there's not just a bigger world, but there's a bigger spiritual dynamic to the whole thing as well.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you very much for that. I mean, to that end, is there some way that we can continue to pray for your ministry now?
Well, I would continue to. I would ask you to, continue to pray for yourselves as a college, and what it is, how you and communicate. Communicate with us. If you have an idea, float the idea with us, and let's see where it can go, because there's a mutual benefit to this. You've blessed us in the partnership that we have with you in many, many ways, with people. And Joey's mentioned some of the doors that is open for us within the government for our students to be able to access grants and all the rest. We've been blessed relationally, but also, with that element. But again, how can we help you in fulfilling your mission here? What can we do to maybe help you reach what your goals are, what your vision is? How can we help you realize that?
And also, we're going to graduate our first cohort. So we'll have, Lord willing, we'll have a group graduating in under a month, and some ordained in under 3 months, at which point they will go out to northern communities, and they will be ministering in rich but demanding places. So pray for them, please pray for them. Pray for ministers in the north who, as Bishop Darren said earlier, who have really the entire community within their parish, within their pastoral care purview. So it's a demanding context for ministry, but it is a very rich one.
And you've helped make that happen.
Yeah.
You've helped us take students, people who were thinking about ministry, people who were maybe not even thinking about ministry but wanted to take the course. But you've helped us move them from this place to this place to that place. So, we appreciate that.
Well, it's truly been a blessing for Trinity and for ATTS, it sounds like. So we're very grateful to be in partnership with you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We actually have a surprise guest with us this morning in the very Reverend Lori Thompson, who's just kind of popped in on the interview. So, Lori, you want to come up here? I don't know why you're here.
Just want to say we are so blessed. We are so blessed by the partnership. Please sit. I'll go down on one knee because I brought the little gift that you gave to me at my installation, and he is a very, I think, courageous little polar bear who is very capable and very Christ-centered, because he's bending the knee before our Lord, but he's diving into the challenge of his mission in the moment. And so as I look upon him and pray for you all, I am inspired. And as I shared with you, Bishop Darren, my coming to Christ really happened in the context of the fishing villages of the Labrador coast. So the northern climes have a special memory for me, and I'm aware of some of the challenges of life in the north. And they helped me meet the living God. And so thank you so much for the love and affection you've given to all of us. And I hope we can continue to grow in that love and affection. And as I say, I'm going to run with those 3 C's: courageous, capable, and Christ-centered. And that little polar bear to me is a little image of exactly that.
Koara Kingate. That's the name of the person that wrote the bottom, and it's written in syllabics, eh? The Inuktitut language. So that's the chap that wrote it.
I had not even noticed the signature before. Thank you for pointing that out.
That's pretty cool. Yep. You brought that down, Joey, eh?
Yep. The community of Cape Dorset, where this man made it, is renowned for arts. It's on the west coast of the Baffin Island.
It's gorgeous. Yep. It's gorgeous, and those islands probably weren't that far from where
They weren't they weren't far from Labrador at all.
That's right.
No,
Labrador goes right up there and points to
Yep, absolutely.
Well,
well, maybe you'll come back. Maybe you'll come back up north, eh?
I'm eager. I'm
we'd love
eager
to
to
have
do
you.
so. I'm eager to do so.
We'd love you to have you. Yeah, definitely. And for you to have that connection with Labrador in the past, eh? And for it to mean something to you, it would be good to get you up there.
And maybe it'll help speed me up so I can fly like a puffin.
Or you might be puffing by the time you get there at my house through the snow.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
you
you.
both for being here.
Thanks.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Lori, I also understand that you're wearing your Trinity socks today.
Oh, right.
You got a pair too.
Hey.
Are
Check
all of
it
us.
out.
So,
Hey.
and
There's some debate actually whether it's the Ulster flag or the other.
what's the other debate?
What's the
Ulster
other-
flag or
Well, I had to say my wife's from Nova Scotia, so I had to say the Nova
Yeah,
Scotia
so-
flag, but it's neither. It is the Trinity crest.
It's very clearly
Well,
the Trinity seal. So
I was wondering if it was actually the Newfoundland clock that was half an hour late.
apparently we have some branding work to do, friends.
Yeah, these are wonderful. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for taking the time to talk with us. Do you have any other thoughts or anything you'd like to share?
Don't lose what you have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't lose what you have. That you asked us, is there anything that you would like to pray for us, for you to remember us in prayer? Keep doing what you've been doing and keep that focus. Keep praying. I mean that because that was significant for me. When the chap says, let's pray together on the phone. Can I pray for you? Pastorally sensitive to the context, or try to empathize.
All right. Well, thank you both very much for being here, and thank you for your work with Trinity. Thank you for your work at ATTS and in the Arctic.
Thank you.
Thanks.